Welcome everybody to the driver ratings for the 2026 Formula 1 Austrian Grand Prix. Now, we normally do driver ratings on a Monday. We're doing them on Tuesday again because I was not live yesterday. So let's cast our mind back to Sunday. Let's go through every single driver in reverse finishing order and talk about their qualifying and race and rate their performances out of 10. Now, there will be a poll up in chat that you guys can vote on. So yeah, as per usual, if you're watching on YouTube, come join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ponden. That is where you can vote in the chat on the poll. We've been live on Twitch already doing our Grand Prix review. Again, every single Monday, usually we go live and we review the Grand Prix. There's going to be a few weeks where I do it on a Tuesday. Like a few weeks ago, I had a quadrant shoot on a Monday, so I couldn't do that. And then this week, I wasn't live on Monday. So, yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about the first driver. Let's get Let's get the poll up and ready. All right. First up, to rate, we have got Valtteri Bottas. What do you rate Bottas this weekend out of 10? Now, this is how the polls are going to look today. All you have to do is type the number in Twitch chat that you want to vote, and it'll pop up on the poll. So, firstly, Bottas, he qualified P20, got out-qualified by his teammate by only 1/10. You know, for Bottas' standards recently, 1/10 isn't bad at all. He did out-qualify both Aston Martins and was only 5/10 away from Albon in front. Not a bad quality from Bottas. And then in the race, he retired on lap 2 because of a brake issue. So because of that, we're going to give him inconclusive because we didn't get to see enough from him in the race. But yeah, obviously, based off of qualifying, I'll probably just give him a 5. Like, he qualified where he should be, but didn't beat his teammate again. There's nothing more than that. But yeah, inconclusive. Majority of you guys on the poll saying 3. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to rate there, is there? No, you know, backmarker team that's got no competition. Also break it down on lap 3. All right, next up, we have got Sergio Perez. What do you rate? Perez this weekend out of 10. Get your votes in on the poll. At this point, all the DNSs should be inconclusive. We'll have a look. Can you add inconclusive to the poll? I guess I could, but yeah. All right. Sergio Perez, just like I said, out-qualified his teammate by 1/10. Was only 4/10 behind Albon in front. Did his job of out-qualifying his teammate in the Aston Martins. Put himself as close to the Williams as possible. Unfortunately, his car broke down on lap 4. So we're also giving him an inconclusive. Again, backmarker team. Only doing a few laps. There's not really much more to say. So, yeah, moving on. Majority of you guys saying a 3. That is harsh, but there's not really much to base it off of. Okay, next up, we have got Carlos Sainz. Poll is up. What do you rate Carlos this weekend out of 10? So, Carlos, in qualifying, out-qualified his teammate by 3/10, but still didn't make it through to Q2. That Williams does not look great at the moment. Hard stuck in Q1 for both the Williams drivers. And then in the race, he broke down on lap 23. So a third of the way through the race. I can't remember where he was during the race. He started P17. He was running in P17 or 16 at one point in front of Colapinto. Why did Colapinto off the start? And before he broke down, he was running in P14. Honestly, not much to go off of. Only 23 laps. The Williams is a bit of no man's land. I mean, it was a pretty average weekend for him. I mean, he out-qualified his teammate. Out-qualified his teammate by 3/10 as well. But yeah, only did 23 laps. I think we kind of need to see where he finished on race pace to get a proper look. So yeah, I'm just going to go inconclusive for Sainz just because, again, backmarker team, not really much to go off of. Kind of need to see them finish the race. Or have a bit more of an intense qualifying to get a proper rating for that. So, yeah, majority of you guys saying a 4, though, for Sainz. I think that's harsh for someone who out-qualified their teammate. What did he do wrong to get a 4? But, anyways, that's your guys' choice. All right, next up, can we finally rate a driver? I think we can. Next up, we've got Lance Stroll, first of the... Wait, no, he didn't finish. Oh, he didn't finish. Oh, he did 45 laps, though. All right. Next up, we got Lance Stroll. Lance got out-qualified by his teammate by 4/10, last in quali. Obviously, got out-qualified with the Cadillacs, got out-qualified by his teammate. That's kind of where the Aston is at the moment. In the race, he finished, well, he DNF'd actually, but he was running around at the back of the grid. His teammate actually moved up some positions, and Stroll wasn't able to do that. Actually, sorry, Alonso only moved up positions because of pit stops. Um, Before he retired, he was behind Alonso only by a second. He's only behind Alonso by a second. Yeah, honestly, we can rate Alonso. We can rate Stroll here. Yeah, qualifying 4/10 off your teammate, and then race pace is pretty close to Alonso. Obviously, it's really hard to rate the Aston Martin guys at the moment. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a. I'm gonna give him 4.5. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't crash. He didn't make any mistakes. But yeah, getting out qualified by your teammate before 4/10 is not great. Being stuck behind your teammate in the race is not great, but at least his race pace was okay. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing really to give him lower than that. I can't believe you guys are giving me a 3 and a 2. What did he do wrong? He didn't crash. What did he do, bro? What did he do wrong? What did he do wrong? Millions would just air this weekend. Looney, thanks so much for the 38-month resub in Tier 1, dude. Really do appreciate supporting him for 38 months. Thank you, man. Thank you. Quite a bit of DNFs. Only 3. Only 4 DNFs. Only 4 DNFs. I need Tankman's in the chat for his lunch break. Just for being an F1. Oh, hell no. Anyways, Stroll, 4.5 performance. Again, don't really have much to go off of. He's in an Aston Martin, but at the end of the day, actually, maybe it was a 4. We'll go 4. We'll go 4. 4 for Stroll. All right. Next up, we've got his teammate, Fernando Alonso. What do you rate Alonso's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. So Alonso outqualified his teammate by 4/10, but didn't have much more in the tank to outqualify Bottas or the Cadillacs. And then in the race, he actually finished the race, which is great, and was outpacing his teammate just a little bit. I don't know. There's not much more you can really do in an Aston. So I feel like Alonso gets a 6. I mean, maybe he gets a 7 because he just did good. Like, what did he do bad? I don't know. It's one of those things, man, where it's just like when you're hard stuck at the back of the grid in a shit car, like you are kind of getting judged based off the car. But I don't know. Outqualified his teammate by 4/10. Race pace was okay. I mean, I don't know. Maybe a 6 because Stroll was so close to him. But yeah, the 2 shitbox teams at the back, man. Huh? 6? What do you mean? Huh? 6? Wait, why are you guys giving him a 4? How did a man who beat his teammate in both sessions have a bad weekend? Are you guys tripping? Last free rating for Bottas was inclusive. That car is shit. Just rate Aston and Caddy inclusive every week until they sort it out. Yeah, but like some weeks you can rate Alonso and Perez. Anyways, I'm going 6. He beat his teammate in both sessions. Didn't do anything bad. Can't give him more than a 6 though, because obviously that car is poo. Majority of you guys send 4 and 5. That is whack. But anyways. Alright, moving on. Not really moving on much better though. We've got Alex Albon. What do you rate Albon's weekend out of 10? So Albon in qualified P18. He got out-qualified by his teammate by 3/10. Now that Williams is looking a bit rough at the moment, but he did his job, I guess, of out-qualifying the Cadillac, but didn't do his job of out-qualifying his teammate. Then in the race, he finished in P17. He beat Alonso, but in the race, he finished 1 second behind Ocon. So I think there's a potential, to be honest, to beat Ocon, but he finished 30 seconds down on Colapinto. Now, did he do an extra pit stop? Or was he generally 30 seconds down on Ocon? He finished 53 seconds ahead of Alonso. I don't know. I gave Stroll a 4. I'm going to give Ocon a 4 as well. That's right. I'm going to give Albon a 4 as well. Yeah. Beaten by his teammate and qualifying by 3/10. Outpaced by his teammate before Sainz's engine went poo. And then, I don't know, finished behind Ocon when he was close to him. I guess it's a 4. I guess it's a 4. His team is Stroll, like he doesn't have, so 4. He needs to beat his simulator time. What? He finished 3 laps down on leaders? Yeah, it's not Alonso's fault. Hot take, Albon should be placed in fraud watch. He's likable, so people don't say much, but he's been mid lately. I mean, the Williams is mid, so I don't know. But maybe he's close to fraud watch. All right, majority of you guys said 5 for Albon. All right, next up, can we finally talk about some good drivers here? We have got Esteban Ocon. What do you rate Ocon's weekend out of 10? So Ocon out-qualified Franco Colapinto by 3/10, but got out-qualified by his teammate by 3/10. He also got out-qualified by Hulkenberg and Bortoleto. So yeah, pretty disappointing qualifying from Ocon. 3/10 off, beaten by the Audi boys when Ollie beat one of the Audi boys. At least he beat Colapinto though. And then in the race, he finished behind Colapinto, actually finished a lap down, and only finished 1 second ahead of Albon. And he finished 33 seconds behind his teammate. Yeah, pretty poor quali, pretty poor race from Ocon. I am giving him a 4 as well. Again, didn't do anything wrong. At least he out-qualified Franco. To be honest, it's probably a 3.5, to be honest. It's actually a 3.5. Like, the only saving grace is he out-qualified Colapinto and didn't make any mistakes. But still a very poor weekend for Ocon. Yeah, we'll go 3.5. 3.5. Majority of you guys saying 4 for Ocon. I know, I'm not mad about that. EUC, what is up? Do you check YouTube comments? I do occasionally, man. I do occasionally. I'm doing good, dude. 4 viewers, bro, fell off. I know, right? I know, right? Only 4 viewers on the YouTube stream. Now, I don't know what's been happening with the YouTube streams lately. It's weird. It's weird. I mean, we are live on a Tuesday, to be fair. Anyways, I'm going 3.5 for Ocon. ST Bestie. It's so hard to rate the midfield cars. I mean, midfield's fine. The backfield, not so much. All right, next up, we have got Franco Colapinto. What do you rate Franco's weekend out of 10 on the poll? So, Franco got out-qualified by his teammate by 9/10. He also got out-qualified by the Haas's, by the Audis, and yeah, by the Haas's and by the Audis. So, yeah, really poor quality from Franco. Not sure. Did something happen to him in his Q2 run? Why is he so far down? So, yeah, anyways, why is he so far down? Anyways, in the race, he did overtake Albon. He was always ahead of Albon. He did overtake Ocon, but he finished behind Ollie still and finished 25 seconds behind his teammate. Honestly, very poor weekend from Franco again. Very underwhelming in comparison to his teammate in quali, and very underwhelming in race pace. At least he beat Ocon, though, but still. Pretty poor. I'm going to give him a 4 as well. Maybe it's a 3.5 of Ocon. Nothing. Okay, at least Colapinto beat Ocon, though. Yeah, I'm going to go 4. Yeah, not great. Not great from Franco. Didn't do anything necessarily wrong, though. I think a lot of people were shit this weekend. Mid-Shamel, thank you for the follow. Majority of you guys saying 5. That's crazy. An average weekend for Franco when he got whooped by his teammate in both sessions. All right. All right, finally, we can move on to some drivers that we can actually properly talk about, I think, here. We have got Ollie Behrman. What do you rate Ollie Behrman's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. So, Ollie out-qualified his teammate by 3/10. He also out-qualified Nico Hulkenberg and Franco Colapinto. Now, he did miss out on out-qualifying Bordello by 3/10, but to be honest, I didn't expect that. So, I kind of think Ollie qualified where he should have. Then, in the race, he managed to move up. He moved back a position. He finished ahead of Colapinto. He finished ahead of his teammates by 33 seconds. He was 23 seconds off of Gasly, though. But again, I don't think the Haas is on the same level as the Alpine or the Audis at the moment. To be honest, I think Behrman just kind of did his job. Beat his teammate convincingly. Finished where the Haas should have been. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a 6.5. Nothing too crazy. I think it's just a solid 6. I want to give him a good because I do think he could have maybe had a little bit better race pace. But then again, he beat Franco. I don't know. Maybe it is a 7. Maybe he did just do his job in that Haas. Bro is not cooking like Messi. Didn't score. Can't give him more than a 6. Alright, everyone's going 6. I don't know. I feel like it could be a 7 because he just did his job. But yeah, maybe limited a little bit by the showing of Ocon. I don't know. Alright, majority of you guys saying 6 for Ollie. Then we have got Pierre Gasly. What do you rate Gasly's weekend out of 10? So, Gasly in qualified P11. He out-qualified his teammate by 9/10. He out-qualified the Audis. He out-qualified the Haas's, which I think he should have done, but obviously his teammate didn't, so he's done his job. And he's only 1/10 of out-qualifying the V-Cubs, and I thought the V-Cubs were very strong this weekend. So, honestly, Gasly's put his car, I think, better than what it should have been. He's qualified where he should be, but even closer to the V-Carb boys than I thought. So yeah, I think he's done really good in quali. And then in the race, he's finished in P13. Now, he has lost out to both Audi boys in the race somehow. He finished just milliseconds behind them, or behind Hulk, I should say. But he finished 25 seconds ahead of his teammate. Yeah, I think it's pretty disappointing he finished behind the Audis. Was there a reason for that? Was there a reason he finished behind the Audis? By the way, after you rate, please type in chat why you rated that, because I want to obviously discuss your guys' reasonings. And it was a better car this weekend, to be honest. An Alpine? Maybe. I don't know. I think Gasly had a good weekend, to be honest. Maybe 6.5. Maybe it's 6.5 vibes. I don't know if it's 6.5 or 7, to be honest. 6.5 or 7. Because I think Ocon did his job and beat his teammate, and I think Gasly did his job and beat his teammate. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go 6.5. I think Gasly, I think Behrman did his job and beat his teammate. Gasly beat his teammate, and maybe you could argue didn't do a good job of beating the Audis, but I'll go 6.5. 6.5 for Gasly as well. Majority of guys saying 6 for Gasly too. Alright, next up, we have got in P12, Nico Hulkenberg. What do you rate Hulkenberg's weekend out of 10? So, Hulk, in qualified P14. He got out-qualified by his teammate by 4/10. He also got out-qualified by Behrman, I think, in a much worse car. I think that Audi was clear of the Haas this weekend. So, yeah. I think pretty disappointing qualifying from Hulk. I mean, I think at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, he only was one position lower than he should have been. But I think 4/10 is a lot. I think 4/10 is a lot, and he was lucky that the cars around him were either too good or too bad. However, in the race, he did manage to get past both Gasly and Behrman, so he finished in P12, but he finished 10 seconds behind his teammates. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Hulk's done a really good weekend this weekend. I think he's sitting around a 5. Like, you know, P14 in quality doesn't sound bad, but 4/10 off your teammate, like, there was no competition for him to have done better, done worse, I mean. So, yeah, getting beaten by Behrman's not great. And then in the race, okay, he beat Gasly, good. He beat Behrman, good. But finishing 10 seconds behind your teammate, I don't know, I think it's like a 5.5 at best. I don't think I can give him a 6 when you're finishing that far behind your teammate in race pace and in quality, personally. Gasly just had a decent weekend, I agree. Audi and V-Car better than Alpine this weekend, pretty good job. Audi did bring a lot of upgrades this weekend. Brody, do you think you can add that bot that auto kicks the spam bots in Discord? Yeah, I might have to. Is this first 100% ever? His first race finish, you mean? Yeah, it's 5.5 harsh. No, I don't think it's harsh. I think he... No. Oh my god, the sun is beaming into my room right now. No, I don't think that's harsh. I don't think that's harsh. I think people are looking at him qualifying P14 going, that's not bad, but like 4/10 off your teammates are not great. And then 10 seconds off your teammate in the race is not great. Yeah, I'm going 5.5 for Hulk. Majority guys saying 6. Gotta disagree. Well, I mean, we're not only 0.5 rating off, but I think 6 bit too high, personally. Alright, next up, we've got Gabby Bortoletto. Okay, we're finally getting to some people who actually have some weekends worth talking about. So, Bortoletto, in qualifying, out-qualified his teammate by 4/10. He out-qualified the Haas's and Franco. He was only milliseconds away from out-qualifying Alpine and 1/10 away from out-qualifying Gasly, and 1/10 away from making it through into Q3. I think it's a really good job from Gabby. I think the Audi looked good this weekend, but he qualified exactly where he should be. And then in the race, he finished exactly where he should be. He actually beat Gasly, and he beat his teammate by 10 seconds. And he only finished 10 seconds behind the V-Car boys, which were a much stronger car. I actually think Gabby's had a really solid weekend. I feel like it's a 7.5 or an 8. I don't think there's anything much more he could have done. Beat his teammate, out-qualified everyone he should have, other than maybe Gasly. Put the car right on the verge of points. Was close to the V-Car boys. I think it's solid. I actually think it could be an 8 as well. I think it could be an 8. Majority of guys saying 7. What's your guys' reason for giving a 7 on an 8? I'll give him an 8. Yeah, I think it was a great weekend. Like, I don't think it's fair to limit him to not. Like, he would have got points if someone in the top 10 retired. 7.5 is generous, but why though? Why should it be lower? Convince me why it should be lower than an 8. Beat his teammate convincingly in both race pace and quality pace. Was close to the V-Car boys. The only thing he could have done was out-qualify Gasly. I think it's the max the Audi could have got today. Got yesterday. On Sunday. Welsh, state of follow. You got the max of that car. 6 at most. Y'all are crazy, dog. Points? Then no 8. But should he got points in the Audi? Should he been beating the V Cub? You need to get a point for over 7. So basically, if Perez gets 11th, he shouldn't get over a 7. Is that what you're saying? See what I mean? You're looking at the result. You're not looking at the performance. Audi was 6th fastest car this week, in my opinion, so this was a fair result, but not the best. Okay, I'll go 7.5. I'll go 7.5 just because I think, yeah, I mean, I think 7.5 is fair. I'm not going lower than 7.5 at all. He did great in quali, beat his teammate in both sessions, and was close to the V Cowboys. I think that's solid. All right, majority guys send 7 as well. All right, next up, we get into the points finishers now. We've got Arvid Lindblad. What do you rate Arvid out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. So Arvid in qualified P10, was only 1/10 off of his teammate in most sessions, but in Q3, he outqualified Gasly, Bortoletto, Behrman, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Franco, everyone that he should have outqualified, he did. The Racing Bulls should have made Q3, and they both did. So well done. Yeah, and then in the race, Arvid finished P10, finished only 3 seconds behind his teammate, finished 10 seconds ahead of Bortoletto. Yeah, absolutely solid weekend from Arvid. At the end of the day, the only thing he did bad was not beating Liam. So I'm feeling 8.5, I think. I think it's an 8.5. Like, he was as close as Liam as he could get without beating Liam in both sessions. And both drivers did their job of getting points. I don't think you should ask for anything more from VCub. I think it's a solid 8.5 weekend for Lindblad. The only reason he would get higher is if he beat Liam, but he didn't beat Liam in each session. So, yeah, I think he'd get 0.5 more for quali and 0.5 more for the race if you beat him. But, yeah. Can't give Liam a 9, so reserve 8. 5, risking DNF both cars just so you can get 1 extra ego point is not good. Wait, what's that in reference to? Are you talking about Arvid battling Liam? I mean, maybe you could argue him battling, but we didn't see it on camera, so I don't even know what happened, to be honest. I think Arvid just undercut Liam. That's what I thought happened. Last time we had top 14s for top 8 races was 2024. Wow. Team order stuff. Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think it was Arvid's fault. Anyways, I'm going 8.5 for Arvid. I'm knocking 0.5 off for Liam. And 0.5 off for not beating Liam in quali, and 0.5 off for not beating him in the race. Majority goes then 8 as well. Which means, moving on to my boy Liam. What do you rate Liam's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Yeah, I think, again, just reiterating exactly what I said for Arvid. Did his job, put his car best the rest in both sessions, beat his teammate in both sessions by just a little bit. So, yeah, I think if I'm giving Arvid an 8.5, I'm giving Liam a 9.5. Obviously, I'm not going to give him a 10. It wasn't, like, a perfect, insane weekend. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to put Liam's rating down because there was no competition. But I'm also not going to give him a 10 because there was no competition. You know what I mean? So, I think 9.5 is perfect. He did his job perfectly. He beat his teammate in both sessions. He put the car exactly where it should be. Had an amazing first lap as well. Yeah, as perfect as a weekend could get with no competition. But I don't think, you know, at the end of the day, I think to get a 10, you need to have some sort of competition, which he didn't have. So, yeah, I think it was a very solid 9.5 weekend for Liam. It's so great to seeing Liam and Arvid doing their job so well and so close to one another. You know what I mean? Usually the teammates this year, it's like someone's beating someone by 4/10, and these guys are really, really close, which is great to see. And it's nice that both of them didn't have a fucking issue the whole weekend, other than Liam had to step out for FP1. Considering Liam was on fire for a bit and he still finished the race, and in the points, I'll give him an 8. $8.5 for Liam. That double overtake gives an extra 0.5. You guys are giving Liam, who finished best the rest, with only 4 DNFs, and beat his teammate both sessions, an 8. What the fuck do you want him to do? What do you want this man to do? Do you want him to overtake Charles Leclerc? What do you want him to do? The next driver up the road is a Ferrari. Just here to see if there's going to be max delays after one race. No disrespect. Well, we are rating the one race, my bro. Liam did really good. The Brembo is crazy. Anyways, majority of you guys are saying 8. A 8 for a best of the rest result. Y'all crazy, bro. You're trolling me. You're trolling me. If it wasn't Liam, it would be a fucking 10. If Armin did that, he's getting a 10. I'm telling you, bro. Anyways, next up, we've got Charles Leclerc. Yikes. So, Charles, in qualifying, qualified P2. He beat his teammate by 50 milliseconds. But Mr. G. Russ himself flew through the yellows and beat him. Now, I will say, I don't think this was an amazing qualifying result from Leclerc. Yes, he qualified P2. Yes, he outqualified his teammate. But he only outqualified his teammate just, which, again, like, props to Charles for outqualifying his teammate, obviously. But, like, if it wasn't for the yellow flags, Kimi would have been higher. But yes, it was Kimi's fault for not adhering to the flags. And if it wasn't for Max crashing, he would have been higher. So, I don't think it was P2 pace. But then again, he strung his lap. No, you know what? I'm criticizing Charles for no reason here. Charles did his job. He qualified. He kept the lap clean. He beat his teammate. He qualified P2. Kimi made a mistake. Max made a mistake. He capitalized on that. He got P2. Solid qualifying from Charles. However, the race, it all fell to bits. Bro dropped from P2 to P8. Actually, what happened off the start? I think he stuck his nose around the outside of someone off the start. Yeah, got pushed wide. Already down to P4 by lap 2. Then got eaten by Max. Then got eaten by the McLarens. And just fell. He just kept falling. He just kept falling. His race pace was bad. In the end, he finished 17, 18 seconds behind his teammate. Obviously on different strategies and stuff like that. I think Charles did an extra pit stop, but still. You know, that was his choice. Yeah, he finished way down. I think his race pace sucked. At the end of the day, Lewis got P5 and he got P8. And Lewis and Leclerc started ahead. So, it all went wrong for Leclerc in the race. Now, I don't think it was a terrible weekend, again, because of the quali was a bit of a savior for him. But again, you get kind of gifted a qualifying result. And then you just throw it away. Unlike Lewis, who kind of capitalized, probably did the best he could with that car. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I'm trying to think. What do I rate him here? I've already accidentally written a 4. I don't know what to give him here. The result was terrible. If I was just rating the race, I would give him probably a 3. So I think we bump it up to a 4 for quali, because the quali was good. Maybe 4.5. I don't know. What do you guys think? Gandalf the Ray bombed the stream, dude. Borderlands 2 rating is lower, while you finished 12 seconds behind Liam and Audi without a safety car. If he got pole, he would have gotten more generational slander. I have a question. Is a 10 a perfect race? 10 is absolutely perfect. No thing to criticize. Or a very outstanding drive with a mistake or something. So there's no way to get better number because someone did something special amazing. I think the race was also a bit the car that wasn't good, still not good. I think Lewis would have done better in quali if he had his banker lap in. Well, that's his fault. Charles was just mid or straight bad. Charles is good at the first stint. He is not very good at managing tires. If Charles would be a character in an MMO, he would be a low HP glass cannon. Okay. Charles letting other drivers through but fighting Lewis is insane work. True. At least he didn't crash this time. Should add a point to that. Lewis only had 1 lap, Ponden. Why did Lewis only have 1 lap, guys? Why did Lewis only have 1 lap? Please enlighten me why Lewis only had 1 lap. Because he made a mistake. So using the excuse of he only had 1 lap for his banker, for his lap, when it's his fault, is his fault. You can't be going, he he only got one lap. Yeah, it was because his fault. Yeah, he only got one lap. 5 is average drive. Yeah, I think Ferrari's outdrove the car in qualifying. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Ferrari, man, come on. He's checking his fuels, bro. Yeah, his race was under average, so it's below 5. The clear fitted Brembo and Lewis's car. Yeah, I think I'll go 4.5. I think I'll go 4.5. At the end of the day, the race was absolutely tragic, but the quality performance was good. No, I'm actually going 4. I'm going 4. The race performance was terrible. The race performance was terrible now that I think about it. Yes, quality was good, but at the end of the day, if you qualify P2 ahead of your teammate and you finish behind your teammate, that's bad. Finishing behind the whole fucking top teams is bad. I'm actually going 4. So's Charles. Majority guess saying 4 as well. Alright, we move on to another stinker. What do you rate Lando's weekend? Out of 10. Yeah. I mean, I haven't delved into it yet, but I thought Lando had a pretty stinky weekend as well. So, in qualifying, he out-qualified Piastri by a few milliseconds. He was only a 10th away from Max, who crashed. Only a 10th away from Kimi, who on his banker. So, basically, Lando's final lap wasn't good enough to beat Kimi and Max's banker, which I think goes to show the level that the McLaren's at the moment. Was only a 10th ahead of Hadjar. I think, again, at the end of the day, he qualified Piastri, he did his job. But I think it is pretty disappointing the McLaren boys aren't beating Max and Kimi on their banker laps. Maybe I'm expecting too much from the McLarens there, but anyways. However, in the race, he managed to finish behind Hadjar, finish behind Lewis Hamilton, who I personally believe had a worse car. Lewis finished behind Piastri. I think that shows the McLaren was better. So Lando finished behind Hadjar, who obviously is a struggling second Red Bull seat. Finished behind Lewis, who I think shouldn't have finished ahead of him, and finished behind his teammate by 10 seconds. I think it was a really poor race from Lando. I don't think it was as tragic as Charles. I mean, at the end of the day, Lando beat Charles. But I still think it was on a pretty similar level to Charles. So I think I'm going to give him a 5? Maybe a 5.5? I don't know. Again, it wasn't tragic, but beaten by Hadjar, beaten by Lewis in a worse car, beaten by your teammate by 10 seconds when you qualified ahead of them. It's very Leclerc-esque. It just wasn't as grand of a fall-off. I think I have to go 5 here. I think it was a very average weekend for Norris. I think if you put any other driver in that car that weekend, I think they would have done better. I don't know what happened to Norris this weekend. He could complete the final lap with no yellow and still not a great result. Only slightly better than Charles. Got put on an abysmal strategy by his team to get undercut by Hadjar and his old power unit. Charles looks is carrying him, and I think it's time to be honest. That pretty privilege. Okay. I think his battery had something to do with it. They all had new batteries other than Lando. Lando didn't have the same upgrade as Oscar. Quality is not really there, and the race was just mid. Lando has no motivation anymore. I don't know about that. His strategy was awful. He had the same race pace as Oscar if you look at the data. But when Oscar finishes 25 seconds behind Oscar, you don't care. I'm fairly sure I did give Oscar a low rating. He looks defeated, but I think OP gonna rate the floor. Alright, after what you guys have said, I'm going 5.5, but I'm not going hard on that. You only think about the bunda. Don't we all? Don't we all? Alright, majority of you guys send 4 for Lando. I'm gonna go 5.5. I think 4 is kind of harsh, putting him on the same level as Charles. Yo. Alright. Next up, we got Isaac Hadjar. Now, again, it's always hard with the second Red Bull seat because I don't take into account the bias of the second Red Bull seat. But, like, looking at the second Red Bull seat for a moment, this was a great drive from Hadjar. This was an insane drive. So, in qualifying, Hadjar got out qualified with the McLarens, which I don't think he should have happened. Max was challenging for pole, and Hadjar, or challenging for the front of the grid, and Hadjar's down in P8. Did Hadjar get his final run in? Is the question. Did Hadjar get his final run in? I'm gonna have to check the quality highlights because no one's answered in chat. He did. No, he didn't. He didn't. Don't lie to me. Wait, did he? Nope. Don't lie to me. Hadjar was behind Russell. I was behind Kimi, sorry. This is why that's important. Okay, so Hadja in qualifying got affected by the yellow flags. Well, we don't know. He either did what Kimi did, which we're going to talk about soon, which is he drove through a single yellow and lifted. Or he got affected by them. Not really sure. Either way, he was affected in some way by the yellow flag situation. Hence why he didn't outqualify the McLaren. So that sucks. I mean, his banker lap was almost better than the McLaren's. He was only 2/10 off of Max's banker lap. Honestly, I think Hadja's done quite good here. Again, it's hard to tell because he didn't get that final run in. But yeah, I think Hadja's done okay. Despite qualifying P8, I think performance-wise, I think he's actually done pretty decent in this qualifying. Again, referring to a Red Bull second seat, I think he's done really good in qualifying. I think he's way closer to Max than we've ever seen. So yeah, it's a shame that we didn't get to see his final run. I think he would have been quite up there, to be honest, maybe ahead of the McLarens. And then in the race, he finished ahead of Charles, finished ahead of Norris. Not great that he didn't beat Lewis, who I think was in a pretty poo car. But yeah, I think finishing P6 was pretty solid. Yes, but at the same time, he finished 28 seconds behind Max. So it's one of those things of, he did it, noob. I'm literally looking at him on the map. I'm literally just looking on the map. Did he? Did he? How did he get the final run? First run was on soft. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So in that case, Hadja actually qualified P8. Again, not bad for second Red Bull seat standards, but to get out qualified by the McLarens isn't great when your teammates challenge for the front of the grid. Anyways, in the race, he managed to move up to P6. I think he should have been beating a Lewis in that worse car. And also to finish 28 seconds off your teammate isn't great. Again, for second Red Bull seat standards, I think this was a very good weekend for Hadja. I think it was really nice to see a driver somewhat close to Max. Or not close, closer to Max and not struggling. But obviously, again, we rate the driver's performances, no bias or anything like that. It's still not great from Hadja, you know, to finish 4 positions lower than your teammate, 28 seconds down. You know, your finishing lap, your final qualifying lap isn't better than your teammate's banker lap isn't better than McLaren's. So I don't really know what to rate him here. I don't really know what to rate him. It's always tough for the second Red Bull driver. I can't just now start rating the second Red Bull driver based off the second Red Bull seat situation. Max is the only guy that doesn't drive a rocket ship according to fans. They swear he drives a Haas or an Aston. You know what? Not putting in the wall as well. Hadja has been pretty consistent. If you think that he has the same weekend at Morris. Okay, I'm not reading that. I think Hadja did a good job, but not perfect. They didn't show it because Lewis was doing a lap. Hadja has been impressive so far this year. This race less so, but still okay for me. I think he did well in terms of overtaking and race pace, but if you compare it to Max, it's complete average. Yeah, if you don't consider second Red Bull seat, he had the same weekend as Norris. If you don't think about the second Red Bull seat, to be honest, because he was miles behind the pace. Yeah, can't give Lewis more than 7. We're not even up to Lewis yet. Hadja goes lap in. It was 0.26. The Red Bull second seat shouldn't be a thing anymore. Although the car is fine for both drivers. He was behind GR as he got Max. It was upgraded to double yellow. They were showing Lewis. That's why they didn't show it. Not the time behind more important than the place. Hadja arguably had the second best car this week. Hadja's 8 by second Red Bull standards, 6 or 6.5 by normal standards. Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go 6. I think going off of non-Red Bull standards, out-qualified by your teammate on their banker lap, like the teammate's banker lap beat you on your best lap. You got out-qualified by both McLarens when you shouldn't have. And even, you know, you were nowhere near the front of the grid. And then, like, finishing 8th when people didn't get their laps in, not great. And then finishing 28 seconds down on your teammate. At least you beat Norris. At least you beat Leclerc. I think 6 based off of performance. But yeah, for Red Bull standards, I think it's like an 8. I think for Red Bull standards, it's an 8. But we don't do that here. Hadja beat a Ferrari for fuck's sake. Yeah, that Ferrari got a 4. That Ferrari got a 4. Paddy Huron, what is that wrong with the stream? Yeah, and Ferrari had the 4th fastest car, exactly. At the end of the day, Max is 28 seconds up the road. Anyone else would be getting below a 5 if they're 28 seconds behind their teammate. Hadja's lucky he's getting a 6. Anyways, I'm going 6. I'm going 6. I think, again, it's just the way it is. You know, it was a decent performance from Hadja. Again, would be higher. based off of the Red Bull second seat, but as a performance, like, you're still getting beaten by a car that you should be beating, and you're 28 seconds off your teammate. So, yeah. Majority of you guys saying 7. All right, next up, we have got Lewis Hamilton. What do you rate Lewis's weekend out of 10? So Lewis in qualified P3. He did get out qualified by his teammate, and obviously both of them lucked out with the crash. But the way I see it is Max crashed. The Ferraris capitalized on that. Kimi Antonelli didn't follow the flags properly. They capitalized on it. At the end of the day, the Ferraris did their job. They put the Ferrari where it should be in qualifying. So yeah, well done. Again, Lewis got qualified by his teammate, but not by much. So yeah, good qualifying from Lewis. Good qualifying from Lewis. And then in the race, he finished in P5. He beat Isaac Hedger in a worse car. He beat Norris in a worse car, and he beat his teammate by 20 seconds. I actually think Lewis has had a really good weekend. He's only finished 5 seconds behind Piastri as well, which is where I expect the Ferrari to be relative to Piastri. Yeah, I think Lewis has done really, really well this weekend. I don't know what more he could have done. Like, he was not going to hang on to a podium in the Ferrari. He actually got past Charles off the race start. He got past Charles in their battle. I really don't know what more you wanted Lewis to do this weekend. So, I am giving Lewis an 8, I think. I think he probably could get a higher rating if he beat Charles in quali. And I think he probably could have got a higher rating if he could have been maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's even higher than an 8, to be honest. I don't know. He was very solid. He was very solid with the car he was given. Guys, be realistic for once. Fry fucked it. It would have been battling for P4 with Piastri. Kimi did the sportsman thing and slowed down George. 7, he could have gone P4 if Charles didn't keep him up. I think Hamilton had a good race. Fair fight with Verstappen. The Ferrari strategy cost him. 7, first quarter of the race, you thought he was going to be on the podium, but shit strat. Mostly because he wanted the 3-stop. I don't think it was a great strategy, yeah. He did the most with that Ferrari and would have been in Piastri if that strategy was correct. It's not his fault the Ferrari engine was not entering. I'm not sure why his strategy was bad, but the tire was really shit. He would have been in Piastri as well if it was not an awful strategy. Here comes Ponden versus the Team LH round 1000. I think it's the opposite. I think people are rating Lewis kind of low this weekend for what he did. Like, he put the Ferrari where it should be. Probably should have been alcohol of his teammate. I think he did way better in the Ferrari than I thought. He did better than Norris in a better car. He did way better than his teammate. He beat Hadja. He was only 5 seconds off Piastri. I think he's done good, man. I think he's done good. 8.5. I'm not going to give him 8.5 because he contributes to that strategy. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted that 3-stop, which didn't work. You know what I mean? The drivers also contributed to the strategy. So, I think it's solid. Majority of you guys saying 7, though. I think that's just crazy. That might be the first time I've ever rated Lewis higher than you guys. I'm shook. All right. 4th place. Last driver, not on the podium. We've got Oscar Piastri. That man loves to just miss out on the podium with some solid results. So, Oscar, in qualifying, got qualified by his teammate by a few milliseconds. I think that's the best McLaren could have done, to be honest. He out-qualified Hadja, which, again, I don't think Hadja should have been getting out-qualified by Piastri, so well done to Piastri. I don't think there's anything more Piastri could have done. That's probably the best McLaren could have done. And I think Piastri should have... Yes, Piastri should have beaten Lando, but they were so tight. And then, in the race, Piastri beat the Ferraris, who I think had a worse car. He beat Isaac Hadja, who had a better car. And, yeah, I think he just did what he needed to do, right? Qualified where he should, other than ahead of his teammate. And finished where he should, given the situation around him. And he finished 10 seconds ahead of his teammate. I think it was very strong from Oscar. I wouldn't go maybe as good of a weekend as Lewis. Well, maybe it was the same as Lewis. No, actually the exact same as Lewis. Both got beaten by their teammates in qualifying, but beat both their teammates convincingly in the race and finished where they should. Very solid 8, I think, for Piastri. Maybe even 8.5, to be honest. I think he maximized his race. Not a lot more Piastri could have done. Very strong by Oscar. He beat Lewis and Norris. Really good. Yeah, maybe it's an 8.5, to be honest. Maybe it's an 8.5. Yeah, I think 8.5. 0.5 better than Lewis, just because at the end of the day, Lewis probably could have beaten Piastri. But Piastri didn't let that happen. So, yeah, we'll go 8.5 for Oscar. That's fair. Majority of you guys saying 8. We agree on that. We agree on that. All right, we move to the podium. Now, this is going to be a pretty controversial one, I think, or polarizing one as per normal with this guy. We've got Kimi Antonelli. What do you rate Kimi out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. I think this one could go both ways, and I'm curious to see what way it does go. Or maybe we'll end up settling in the middle. Okay, so Kimi in qualified P4. Now, he didn't get his final run in, right? Max crashed. His banker was better than Max, but his banker didn't end up beating the Ferrari's final runs. Now, you can look at this two ways. You can look at this and say, oh, he was unlucky with the yellow flags and he wasn't able to finish his lap. But as we've found out, the single yellow was displayed. And as per the rules, a single yellow means you should lift. And whether it's confusion from Bono, whether it's confusion from himself, he didn't lift. He completely aborted his lap, which was the wrong decision. And Kimi said himself that he made a mistake. Now, that's an easy mistake to make, I understand, but it was a mistake he made. And I think that's the reason why he qualified P4. At the end of the day, he was 3/10 off his teammate in quali and got out-qualified by both Ferraris. Now, that shouldn't be happening. Again, I'm not going to be super harsh on him for qualifying P4. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to sit here and ignore the fact that he did make a mistake in qualifying, which cost him 2 to 3 positions. Anyways, moving on to the race. Abysmal race start. Genuinely one of the worst race starts I've seen. Off track in turn 1, off track in turn 3, off track again in turn 1. Dropped all the way back down to... What position was he in? I think, yeah, he got overtaken by Max, and then dropped all the way down to P5. He was lucky that the McLarens were absolutely nowhere. Actually, no, the McLarens started attacking him, didn't he? So he was under pressure from the McLarens. Yeah, it was very, very poor race start from Kimi. However, after his issues at the start, he completely turned it around. His race pace was amazing. He really clawed back the time, came back through the field, was on a really great strategy as well, I think, with the overcut. And then managed to get himself in a position where he was not only just chasing down Max, but also chasing down Russell. Now, obviously, there wasn't enough time in the race for him to do that. And some people will look at that like, oh, if he had a couple more laps, he would have been in Russell. The way I look at it is if he had a qualified high but not making a mistake, and if he had not had the fucking shit-ass start of the race, he probably could have won. You know what I mean? So... you can look at it both ways. You can give him a high rating, say he could have won because of his race pace was good, or you could look, hey, he threw away a win because of his quali and the race start. So I'm kind of in the middle. I'm feeling like 7's probably the best thing to give him here. Like, again, great performance, great race pace, but kind of just fumbled the bag, which cost him a win or even a P2. So I don't know. What are you guys saying, though? What are you guys saying? Manu Besterveen. Thank you guys for the follow. Yoshig as well on the stream. Kimi was hawking Max Verstappen's ass down 2 more laps and was toast. The off-road expert in the first 3 laps. Kimi made so many mistakes in the beginning. Absolutely fucked up his start so many times he went off track. Difficult to judge. Screwed in quali but had a good race. I decided to be harsh to Kimi this weekend. Bono saw the crash and expected doubles. Told Kimi double. I don't think Bono said doubles. I'm fairly sure Bono said yellow, yellow. Which, I mean, is that meant to be double yellow? Or is that just him saying yellow, 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 yellow? 7 mistakes in quali, multiple mess-ups on the first lap. Or 7 mistake in quali, multiple mess-ups on the first lap. Plus pit stops were only timed, unfortunately. Mistake in quali for slowing down. His start was all over the place. I was sure he would get a black and white flag, but the stint was really good. He showed performance only in clean air. He struggled at first. Fully on through-away win. Kimi did well in the last stint. Only good pace, but fucked himself up. Yeah, I don't know. 7 or 7.5? I don't know if I should do 7 or 7.5 here. 7 is like, okay, buddy, you threw away a win. Whereas I feel like 7.5 is like, you were given a difficult position with the quali, and you were able to redeem yourself to a P3, only just missing out on a win. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. 7 is max, in my opinion, just too many mistakes. Okay, I'm gonna go 7 then. Lol. Majority guys going 7 as well. All right, we move on to Max in P2. What do you rate Max's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Another interesting one to rate. So Max, in qualifying, crashed, right? Was on for, it may be a fight for pole, but at the very least, a fight for the front row. Crashed, qualified P5. He got out-qualified by the Mercedes boys, who I think would have out-qualified him anyway. But got out-qualified by both Ferraris, which shouldn't have happened. You know, at the very least, he should have been top 3. The crash caused him to be top 5. At the end of the day, he did out-qualify his teammate by 2/10, and that was on his banker lap, so good in comparison to his teammate, but we expect that by now for Max. Then, in the race, he had a really good race start, managed to move himself up to what was it, 3? I think P3 pretty early on. Yeah, P3 pretty early on. And then, obviously, had that nice battle with Lewis, got past pretty quickly. Pretty nice stuff. I do think his battle with Lewis could have been done easier, but at the same time, it is Lewis Hamilton. And then pit stop. Then he was cruising. Now, the strategy. I think some people are shitting on Max and Red Bull for the strategy they went for. I kind of like the strategy they went for. It just didn't happen to work out in the end. Yeah, I think Max has had a very solid race pace. I think it does come down to the fact at the end of the day, I think he would have won this race if he hadn't a crash in qualifying. Even if he did a mediocre lap, he still would have been P3. And I think he would have won this race. I think the time he lost having to get past those guys off the start, specifically Lewis, cost him the win. So, yeah, I think with that said, I think you can't give Max more than an 8 this weekend. Like, a crash and not qualifying where you should have been. Yes, he redeemed himself in the race, but just like we've demoted Kimi down for not reaching his potential, I think you got to do the same with Max. At the end of the day, he beat Kimi in... he beat Kimi, who I don't think he should have been beating Kimi. I think Kimi should have been... had the better car this weekend. So I think 8 is bang on, to be honest. I think 8 is bang on. Didn't Red Bull have fresh mediums they never used? I'm not sure. Yeah, second row quality would have been it. Stop with these hypotheticals. He didn't win a good race. Not insane race. This is arguably his strongest track and he didn't win. Strat not his decision. Well, mistake in quality not his fault. He did provide us amazing racing. Quality crash was not his fault according to the team. Rear wing didn't close. It's Max. He's a say in the strat. Exactly. I'm gonna stick to 8. I mean, if that's true about the rear wing, then I didn't see anything about that. Majority of guys saying 9. I think that's crazy personally. I think that's crazy. Even if with that rear wing thing, I still think it's an 8.5. I don't know. Maybe it is high if you factor in the wing. I'm gonna go 8 though. I'm gonna go 8. Which just leaves Mr. George Russell. I'm curious to see what people rate for this. What do you guys rate Russell's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in the polls. So, yeah, I'm curious. I don't know if this is a 10. For me, a 10 is a perfect weekend. Like, you need to not make any mistakes. And you need to get the max result you can with your car. Yes, Russell got the max result, but I don't think it was a perfect performance from him, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind, but let's talk about it. Russell, in qualifying, he out-qualified his teammate by 3/10. He out-qualified the Ferraris by 2/10. He out-qualified Max by 3/10. Now, Max crashed. Russell didn't, right? But we'll never know if Russell actually genuinely would have got pole against Max and Antonelli because Max crashed and Antonelli didn't get his lap in. Again, it was Antonelli's fault for aborting his lap and not following the correct instructions. But the performance side of qualifying wasn't there because of Max's crash. We didn't get to see, was Russell actually the best qualifier? You know what I mean? Yes, he qualified first, but was he actually the best qualifier that weekend? I'm not going to lie, it's hard to tell. His last lap was insane, but even he had to lift. And, like, did he lift and then gain it back by getting the juice back and into down the straight? You know what I mean? It's too much in the air of, like, would he be actually qualified on pole? I mean, looking at Q2 real quick, he was 2/10 behind his teammate in Q2, and in Q1, he was 3/10 behind his teammate in Q1. So I don't actually think he would have gotten pole personally if all the laps had have been done, but it's hard to tell. again, he did get pole in the end, and I think props to Russell for knowing the rules. The rules were wrong. I don't think that should have been a single yellow. That should have been at least a double or a red. But at the end of the day, a single yellow was thrown, and he knew the rules so well, and he capitalized on that. So well done to Russell. But I think performance-wise, I don't know if he would have actually gotten pole if it wasn't for that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, he did get pole. So anyways, in the race, he did a really good job of just pulling away from everyone behind him. But again, Max, because of his qualifying, started lower down and still finished only 1 second behind him. Only finished 1 second behind him. And Antonelli finished only 1 second behind Max, and Antonelli was nowhere. Which, to me, I think Max and Antonelli had better race pace than Russell. Yes, Russell's race pace and tire management was amazing enough. Well, his tire management was amazing, and his race pace was good enough to hang on to the win. But I still think Max and Antonelli had better race pace. So with all that said, I don't think this is a 10 weekend for Russell. Like, for me, a 10 is you qualify on pole, and there's no question about it, and you win the race. With the Mercedes, with the car he's got, you qualify on pole, no questions about it, and you win the race convincingly with good race pace. But his pole position, I think, only was pole because Max crashed, and because, which again is not his fault, and because Kimi Antonelli made a mistake because of Max's crash, which again is not his fault, but still, I don't think, like, it was a convincing pole lap in that Mercedes. And then in the race, again, I feel like if you have Max starting in P5 and you have Antonelli dropping down to P6 at one point, I think you should be running away with the win in a Mercedes. To have Max and Antonelli threatening you at the end of the race with no safety car, by the way, no safety car, after 71 laps, you're being threatened by two drivers who are stuck in traffic for their whole race. I don't think that's amazing race pace from Russell. And I think, again, he wouldn't have won this Grand Prix if those guys were in the fight, which shows to me he didn't have the race pace. So again, at the end of the day, he did win the race. He did qualify on pole, but I don't think it was I don't think it was what we've seen from Kimi so far this year. I don't think it was like what we saw from Russell so far this year. And I don't think it was like we saw Lando when he was in McLaren. I don't think it was a win like we saw Max when he was in his Red Bull era. Like, if you've got the fastest car on the grid and you're starting P1 and your teammates in the mud and your rivals in the mud, you should be running away with the win by 15, 20 seconds. Not having them threaten you. He literally had a handicap and almost lost. Anyways, it's still a 9.5, but that is not a 10. I'm sorry, that is not a 10. You need to be running away in the fastest car, not having those guys on your ass after all the shit they went through. Anyways, good to see what you guys think, though. Why does quality matter more than the race itself? Because we look at the performance, man. We look at the performance. Typical Max fan, never his fault. Number 5 actually due to race pace. 9, just because his race pace wasn't amazing and he went on track a couple of times, did he? Not a 10 with the race pace he had. Mr. Lift knows the rules. If you switch Kimi's and George's starting positions, how would it have ended for George? Better than Kimi? Yeah, that's actually a good point. Let's swap Russell and Kimi's starting positions with the race pace they had. I think Kimi wins by 25 seconds. Well, if you include Kimi going off track. I think Russell just gets stuck. I don't see nothing obvious to deduct points from George. The dynamic of aero... I think Russell had slower pace than Antonelli, but I feel Russell was managing the lead. Yeah, that's true. Just the quality. He outsmarted everyone. He drove at the limit. Smart ass got him pole. 9.5 for me. 9.5 his race pace was a bit off. Russell didn't have to push to win the race by 10 to 20 seconds. I mean, that's true, but he almost did lose because he wasn't pushing. Just got to win. Nothing crazy was done. No way a 10 Max and Kimi last pits affected them badly, so you could have had a bigger gap. His quality was a 10, I don't care. Up until Kimi aborted, George was a 10th faster. Kimi confirmed it. What's up, Zanny on the stream? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell, man. It is a lot of FFF. But I think the facts are there, and I think Kimi and Verstappen had better race pace than Russell. So even though Russell won, I don't think his race pace was there. It wasn't a convincing win to me. Like, he still won, and that's how F1 works. If you get the car across the line first, you win. But when we're talking performance, I don't think it was a 10 performance for me. So I'm giving him a 9.5. Majority of you guys saying 10, though. But yeah, guys, that wraps up our driver ratings. So Russell and Liam getting the highest ratings of the week. Who else got a high rating? I think Oscar got a high rating. Ivor got a high rating. Lewis got a high rating. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that wraps up the Austrian Grand Prix driver rating. Sorry again for doing it on a Tuesday, not a Monday. Sometimes that will just happen if I have something on a Monday. But yeah, that is it. Thank you guys all for joining me for the ratings. We'll be doing ratings after the British Grand Prix. So be sure to join us for that. Wait, let me just check, actually. Oh, next week, guys. Next week, I will also not be doing driver ratings on a Monday, as I'll be filming with Quadrant that day again. So, again, driver ratings Grand Prix review will be on Tuesday next week. Again, hopefully that'll be the last Tuesday we have for a while. But yeah, things just keep happening on Mondays, so... Yeah, but normally on Monday, we would do our Grand Prix review and driver ratings. So, yeah. But guys, thank you all for watching. If you watched on YouTube, be sure to join us on Twitch. We're going to stay live for a little bit longer, and that is the place to be. That is where you can rate the drivers yourself. If you enjoyed, be sure to like down below. Be sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.